Welcome to another episode of MMPTV. My name is Audra Trainham.
And I'm Miguel Andrade. MMPTV tells the untold stories of those uniting across struggles to build a movement to end poverty.
In this episode, we'll show a recent interview with members of the Philadelphia Student Union and Campaign for Nonviolent Schools to talk about Governor Corbett's proposed budget cuts and other ways that public education is under attack in Pennsylvania.
Even without further budget cuts, schools are already underfunded and families in our communities currently don't have access to the quality education that they deserve. We'll be hearing from students, parents, teachers, and other workers to understand more about the conditions inside of our schools and to learn how these threats to public education are affecting our communities.
It's pretty clear to see that this didn't happen overnight. And to learn about how all this came about, we'll be talking about the history behind these kinds of policies and budget-cutting measures and learning about the kinds of solutions are being put forward by those who have the most vested interest in the future of education.
No one has to live the way we have lived.
Y es triste ver a la gente no viviendo en esas condiciones cuando supuestamente estamos en el país más rico del mundo.
The time has come for a movement that's about the city but is also bigger than the city, because this is bigger than the city. This is a global crisis.
People have been thrust into poverty who never was in poverty before.
It's on the forefront, what everybody's going through nationwide.
We're all different, but we're all fighting for to end poverty on different levels in different ways. Stay strong and you can win.
So let's start with some global and national headlines. In Spain, where the official unemployment rate is 21.3% and where 45% of people aged 18 to 25 are unemployed, youth are being referred to as the youth without a future, and many have begun referring to themselves as los indignados, or those who are fed up. Since May 15th, upwards of tens of thousands of people have been demonstrating in more than 166 cities across Spain to condemn government austerity measures, mass unemployment, and to demand reforms to the political system. Vermont is about to hit the road toward a real single-payer healthcare, Medicare, but for everyone. Vermont has to persuade the federal government to hand over in cash the amount that it would otherwise cost to enable the privatized health reform passed by Congress last year. A study of Chicago schools conducted by the University of Chicago and Consortium on Chicago Schools Research found students' academic achievements to be the strongest predictor of school safety. The quality of education environment, including positive relationships between teachers and students, was found to influence school climate more than surrounding neighborhoods' poverty and crime levels.
In local news, the School District of Philadelphia has to make up a $610 million shortfall in its budget for the coming fiscal year. The gap is due to cuts in state funding as well as the end of federal stimulus funds that had gone to the district. Activists from Pennsylvania followed Governor Corbett to Washington, D.C. in early May to protest the support of tuition vouchers. The voucher bill is currently being considered by the State General Assembly. Parents considering enrolling your child in a charter school may be interested in knowing that Stanford Research Institute found that charters in Pennsylvania generally lag behind their district counterparts in academic achievement. While some charters may be a good fit for students, any given charter may not be necessarily better than the neighborhood school. 300 people joined Media Mobilizing Project in a night of music and performance to celebrate 6 new computer centers at the community organizations across Philadelphia. Find out more about the centers at MediaMobilizing.org. And that's the end of our headlines.
Now, at MMP, we believe that movements begin with the telling of untold stories. We now go to our MMPTV correspondent, Rhea Cruz, to hear the stories of those most affected.
As our guests are coming in, we're gonna kind of ask some questions. So, do your kids go to public school?
Yes. Yeah, we have a daughter who's in 8th grade currently in public school here in Philadelphia.
Where do you see the school district in 5 years? Let's say when your daughter enters high school and she's going to college. At that point, where do you see the public schools?
I hope that within 5 years' time that there is some kind of a plan that's sustainable and at least developed and at some stage of implementation towards improving a lot of the problems that the school district has been facing systematically, and that those plans have included various community members in terms of how that plan is formed. So I don't know if it'll be done, but hopefully at least implemented by then.
5 years is a long time. So
it is.
Yeah.
It is a long time, but it takes a lot of time to change systems.
Yeah. So it starts now, right? So
Hopefully so.
So we look forward to hearing more from you guys in there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Coles, and I'm a school bus driver. And what brings me here today is because I'm interested in our children. I'm interested in our school district and the policies and why the kids aren't considered to be first. And knowledge is power, and power is knowledge. And without either one, you know, how can we expect our children to succeed and be motivated to do more than what's presented for them?
Like for me as an educator, and I work with students who dropped out of school, who, as they say, have pushed out of school or were pushed out of school. And I'm looking at my son, and for real, it feels like that's him. You know, it feels like he could very well end up just like one of my students one day. A student who society has deemed a failure because he's not in school anymore. But it's just a place that doesn't work for him. And at 7, he's already, you know, I don't want to go there. I don't like it. You know, I have 30 people in your class. You know, it's ruckus. And it's not. I'm not blaming his teachers. I'm not blaming. You know, it's like they said, a really huge systematic error. It feels overwhelming to know that I'm sending him somewhere that it's not in alignment with what I really want for him, and that he has only a 50% chance to actually be successful coming out of that system, and that's like a failing rate, you know. And what mother wants that for their child?
No one.
I don't want that. And just trying to figure out what do I do for him.
You can feel that you are one of the people in the forefront because you are, you know, and it's important to just be, you know, continue with that. So, because you're not going to get change unless you demand it.
Yeah, and I'm active, you know, and be an active participant in the change that I would like to see happen. So that's why I'm here, and I'm appreciative that there's even a place to be.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
That was correspondent Rhea Cruz talking with some of the studio audience members who attended our recent live interview with Philadelphia Student Union's Nijmi Zarenko and Azim Hill. Let's go now to the interviews. We're so glad you guys can join us. Can you tell us a little bit about how Philadelphia Student Union got started?
Sure. So Philadelphia Student Union has been around for 16 years now. It was started by young people, and it continues to be led by youth with adult support.
As of right now, we have 8 chapter schools. We operate in 8 chapter schools, and we have we're operating in 21 schools as far as our citywide work goes.
That's great. Could you talk a little bit about what campaigns or anything that PSU is currently involved in right now?
We have, like Azim said, 8 school-based chapters, and so in each of those chapters, we have a campaign that's going on that's relevant to the students in that school, and they decide those based on surveys that they give out to the student body at the beginning of the year. And that can include anything from building better relationships between students and staff to updating facilities and building conditions. And then we also have citywide campaigns, statewide campaigns, and also we're working at the national level. So maybe Azim can talk a little bit about citywide work.
Well, right now we're working on the campaign for nonviolent schools. We're working on making our schools physically nonviolent as well as structurally nonviolent.
The campaign for nonviolent schools is not denying that there are serious problems with violence in our schools. And I think that sometimes people who really want to look at negative discipline policies and the structural piece don't want to talk about the individual piece, and we really want to talk about both. Mm-hmm. And so there is really serious problems, but we have to get to the root causes of the problems and not just stay at the surface. Mm-hmm. And so that's why the campaign is organized around these 3 levels of the individual, the school, and the system. And so for individuals, you know, the students that make up the campaign are actively nonviolent, and they study and they practice and they organize other students into a nonviolent way of looking at the world. But at the same time, we need our schools to be nonviolent, and we need the system to be nonviolent as well. And so these are the levels that we're working on in the campaign.